Hello, and welcome to episode 18, all about the breaking of the Fellowship. Book 2, Chapter 10 of Fellowship of the Ring, being the 18th part of That's What I'm Tolkien About. Hello, my name is Mary Clay. If that's too complicated for you, just call me MC. And today I'm joined by my wonderful friend Bethany for the last chapter of Fellowship of the Ring.
Also so sad.
I know, but I'm very excited that this milestone is here. The actual, details of the milestone, I'm like, this was a letdown
It's
and
not
boring.
exactly what you expected, yeah.
Yeah, so that's fine.
Think of all the good times you've had over the last 400 pages.
I'm just glad we're at the end. Things are happening. Let's jump into
dive
it.
in. All the drama.
I know. All right. So, Book 2, Chapter 10, The Breaking of the Fellowship. So, the spoiler is in the title. Mm-hmm. And you don't know that they break up the way that they break up until, the last page.
Yeah.
So, way to go, Tolkien.
So there's a lot, you say, yes, it is a spoiler. You're like, well, this is the end. We're all breaking up. But I feel like there's a lot of ways that could have happened. Mm-hmm. There's...
What are you running?
How many are there?
Currently, there's 8 of them.
There are 8 of them. There are 8 people.
Soon to be 9 again, I'm assuming.
We'll get there.
I don't know when.
But there's 8 of them. They could all...
It could have been 8 different ways.
That could have happened, yeah.
There's a lot of different possibilities. I'm sure there are, mathematicians out there that are like, actually, the probability of them breaking off the way that they did wasn't actually that high, so... Oh, also, if the audio, once again, sounds weird, I do have the mic facing the correct direction. However, Bethany and I are just hanging out on my couch with the microphone in between us. Yes, drinking, because I think it's what... I don't know, the hobbits would do.
Exactly. We're pouring one out for Frodo and Sam over here.
So, okay, because I think The Breaking of the Fellowship is a bad title, what's another title you would title this chapter?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, not to jump too far ahead, it's very dramatic. I feel like the pivotal moment in the chapter is with Boromir. Mm-hmm. So, something sneaky about someone trying to take the ring.
Boromir ruins it all.
Boromir ruins everything, hashtag.
Hashtag way to go, Boromir. So.
You should rename the chapters. That's what you can do for your next episode. You can make hashtags for every chapter of the Fellowship.
Oh, yeah, and you know what? That would also be a more interesting way to name the episode titles of this podcast, because it's getting to a point where it's like when I cover 2 chapters, the title gets very long. It's
yeah.
And then once I start 2 Towers, I think I'm going to have to go back and change all the episode titles so that it says Fellowship of the Ring, Book 1, because I think
the next one Book 3.
I mean, I could, but I feel like that could get confusing because some people might think, oh, she's on Return of the King already.
Yeah. Oh, true,
even though it's, whatever. But yeah, maybe I'll just make up chapter titles, and that's what I'll call the episodes from now on.
Yeah.
So this episode is called Boromir Ruins It All.
Boromir ruins everything.
Way to go, Boromir. So, jumping in, Chapter 10. Oh, also, I forgot. So, I figured nothing dramatic would happen in this chapter, and I was pretty correct. However, just in case something totally took me by surprise, I was kind of half expecting for Boromir to die in this chapter, and just really throw me off. Oh, so listeners, I mentioned previously, or maybe I don't know, but I know that Boromir dies, and I was texting Bethany about this, and she was like, I'm so sorry you learned that. That's a very big thing for you to learn, and I'm so sorry that happened to you.
But you don't know when it happens.
I don't know when, yeah. So I thought it
could be the very end. Maybe he's the hero of the whole story.
I hope not. Because I do not like Boromir at all.
Every time you tweet something about, Boromir's just the worst,
so today as we're recording this, I'm really struggling to come up with a meme to post on the Instagram for the previous chapter. And so to try and inspire myself, I watched a couple of Vine compilations, and then I was like, wait, I just want to make the Fellowship as Vines video.
Oh, yeah.
But the majority of them I was watching are about Boromir. So
he fits that medium. Yeah.
Vine. Boromir just is a vine.
Aragorn is Google Plus.
I feel like Aragorn would be. No, I feel like Gandalf would be LinkedIn.
Gandalf, yes. He brings everyone together. Who'd be Twitter?
I know. To me, Pippin would be TikTok.
I forgot about TikTok. Sam would be Facebook. It's like the dad kind of.
Standard, kind of boring.
Kind of boring.
Yeah. I think currently Legolas is one of my favorites, so I'll give him Twitter. And then I don't know about the rest of them.
Well, he's kind of sassy.
I don't know. Oh, yeah, that's true. I don't know.
Legolas could be Pinterest. Like, he needs some good, like, hair.
He could pin
style.
some. I was going to say, but have a lot. He would totally have a Pinterest board that's like fall aesthetic.
Yes, right? And that no other seasons.
And then he would also be pinning lembas bread recipes and stuff. Yeah.
Meal prep for lembas bread.
Yeah. Meal prepping, yeah. I mean, I think the important thing is that I don't know who would be Snapchat, because I enjoy Snapchat immensely, and a lot of people hate Snapchat.
It could be Mary. I feel like Mary would do some good snaps.
Mary is Snapchat. There we go.
When everybody's a hot mess, he's just kind of like
Snapchatting it all.
Yeah.
I would love to see a version of Lord of the Rings as filmed on Snapchat. Like someone, like as if like someone in the Fellowship is Snapchatting the adventure.
Doesn't Spider-Man? Doesn't he do that where he's making his
home
one of them
what was it in what was the most recent one?
Was it Far From Home?
Far From Home. Mm-hmm. But yeah, one of them was like doing a vlog or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. They were just vlogging the whole time.
Like, okay, I gotta go fight now. And the camera just kind of like drops to the ground.
Oh wait, no, now I know what you're talking about. Yeah, that one, Homecoming. I know what you're talking about now.
Yeah.
Anyway. Chapter 10, The Breaking of the Fellowship. This is also a very short chapter.
It is.
Like 13 pages. Oh, I remember what I was saying before. Yeah, so I thought something really dramatic was going to happen. Mm-hmm. So I turned the voice memos app on and recorded myself while I was reading it. Oh. So every now and then I'll interject whatever I was saying at the time of me reading it.
Oh, that's cool. Nice.
Mostly it was just me going, Boromir! Why? I think I called Frodo a dumb slut at one point.
Why you gotta do my guy like that?
I think I was thinking of when I know it's a reaction meme or whatever from The Office, and
you ignorant slut.
That's it. Anywho, Chapter 2, Breaking of the Fellowship. So, it starts off with a very picturesque description of the scenery, mm-hmm. and right before Aragorn's like, hey, we're gonna camp here, I was like, wow, what a great spot, they should stay there the night. It's just talking about a green lawn. Behind it rose the first gentle slopes of the hill, clad with trees, and trees marched away westward along the curving shores of the lake. A little spring fell tumbling down and fed the grass. So it sounds very beautiful, and also kind of like a weird, it's a good way to start off the chapter, because it's like kind of like a juxtaposition of like, this is the end of this part of kind of an ominous tale. Mm-hmm. The end of this chapter and book is kind of uncertain. And then the very beginning is very like beautiful and picturesque. Mm-hmm. So they decide to stay there the night. And Aragorn keeps waking up, and finally he gives up and goes over to Frodo, who is on watch. And Aragorn says, Frodo's like, oh, what are you doing up? And Aragorn says, a shadow and a threat has been growing in my sleep. And I'm just like, well, that so much for that nice little picturesque moment.
We took a hard left turn.
That's over now. No going back.
Yep.
Frodo says, oh, are there enemies close by? And Aragorn says, yes, take out Sting and it shall reveal whatever. And then they take it out, or Frodo takes out his little, elf blade is what it's called. And says, to his dismay, the edges gleam dimly in the night. Orcs, he said. So at this point, I'm very confused because I don't remember.
Do you not know about Sting?
No.
Oh, okay.
Because I remember nothing about. So Bilbo gave it to him when they were in Rivendell and about to leave. And that's all I know is that it was passed down from Bilbo. So I was like, was there does it have like magical enemy?
It does.
Powers that I don't know about?
So I guess that must be a Hobbit thing, and I assumed. I completely forgot if they mentioned that in Lord of the Rings or not. But yes, so Sting is a sword that Bilbo got in The Hobbit. I don't remember how, and I won't attempt to say, because it's been a long time since I read it.
He probably stole it.
Probably stole it.
Is my guess. Given how he came to own the ring.
Yeah.
He probably stole it from a
did.
treasure.
Don't get mad at me, Twitter, if that's not the case, but...
That's fine, they'll just get mad at me. Get mad at me, please.
There you go.
Not my
yell
wonderful
at her.
guess.
Thanks. But yeah, so when there are orcs nearby, it will glow blue, which is quite useful on a trip like this.
I'll say.
So,
why have they not had it out this entire time?
I was about to say, because there have been no... Yeah, there's definitely
They had like a close...
Well, no, he did... Oh, gosh. Page flipping. When they were in Lothlorien, when they were sitting at the top of the tree fort and none of them could sleep, wasn't there a moment when they were attacked?
Yeah, some orcs came by.
And Frodo kind of like pulls at his sword a little bit and it's blue and he's like, oh shoot. He drew out Sting, it flashed and glittered like a blue flame and then slowly faded again and grew dull. In spite of his fading sword, the feeling of immediate danger did not leave Frodo, rather it grew stronger.
Oh.
So it has, I mean, but that's a very subtle, this is a lot more obvious of Frodo or Aragorn saying
I definitely
look
did
at
not
your
even
sword.
yeah, I definitely did not even pick up on that but first time.
Right.
Yeah, flashed and glittered like a blue flame. Yeah, definitely. I was probably just like, oh.
Right, because it doesn't really stand
the
out
elf
in
forest.
The yeah, right. So
I don't know. I'm sure at the time I was more concerned. Oh my god, it's got to be Gollum, right? Because this entire time, whenever they mention eyes or anyone watching him, I'm like, Gollum, that you?
Is that you?
So, okay, that's a wonderful explanation.
Yes.
For something I was very confused about when I was reading it. I was like, I was like, what? When? Since when has it been a magical sword?
Sorry.
Wait, I'm confused. Does Sting have magical? I'm confused.
Should have mentioned
my god.
earlier.
Anyway,
it also makes for great.
Come on, Tolkien.
Great cinematography to have Elijah Wood pull out his cool blue glowing sword.
Now I'm just picturing him with a blue lightsaber.
Would be much more useful
than his tiny little like butter knife, like glow in the dark blue butter knife.
Oh man.
So, what is my next note? I also just did not take a lot of notes for this because
not what happened.
Well, we'll get to that in a second. So, then the next passage starts with, the day came like fire and smoke, and I wrote, what does that mean?
Nothing good.
It came like fire and smoke. I was like, so does that mean it's I don't know. I was like, okay, Tolkien, that's cool language, but I'm trying to imagine what that actually means for the sun is rising, but also everything is smoking. I don't know. Right. I didn't get it.
There's a line in the movie that I don't know if it's in the books or not, but Legolas is running through the mountains and the sun's coming up behind him and he turns and very dramatically goes, a red sun rises, blood has been spilt this night. And every time I see a sunrise, I'm part of me is really dramatic and thinks of that line, but then also it's no, it's not. That's not what that means.
I cannot wait for that moment because that's the image of Legolas. The image of Legolas just running with the sun run. And I'm also imagining him Naruto running too with his arms behind. Oh my god, that'd be great. Anyhow, so apparently the day came like fire and smoke. Who knows what that means? And Aragorn gathers everyone together and says, it's a very ominous, I use that phrase a lot, but a lot of this series is ominous. Anyway. The day of choice, which we have long delayed, what shall now become of our company that has traveled so far in fellowship? Shall we turn west with Boromir and go to the wars of Gondor, or turn east to the fear and shadow? Or shall we break our fellowship and go this way and that as each may choose? And given the name of the chapter, I'm assuming it's the latter. They break the fellowship and go this way and that. And then Aragorn turns to Frodo and, many other times throughout the rest of this book, says, I fear the burden is laid upon you. So Frodo has to be the one to decide what to do. And I'm I really do not. I mean, I know what decision Frodo is going to make. At least, I kind of forgot. I knew in the movie that the movie ends with just him and Sam, but I kind of forgot about that as I was reading this. So I was pretty certain that he at least wasn't going to go with Boromir. aside from that, I was just like, Aragorn, please just make the decision for him. Like,
Right.
like, I'm sure he'll end up making a decision fine, but like, it's Frodo. Can you please just... And also, at this point, he's been like touched and corrupted by darkness and evil and the ring and stuff, so I feel like he really should not be the decision maker of this group.
Do you not think Frodo is trustworthy at this point?
I mean, it's not that I don't think he's trustworthy. I think it's just that he doesn't have the best hindsight or perspective to make the right call. Mm-hmm. And we'll talk about that when we get to the end of this chapter.
Yes.
But I think he's too close to the matter to make a decision that's for the betterment of humanity.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That makes
sense. That's fair.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Oh yeah, so Aragorn says, "It's all on you, bud." And Frodo says, "I can't make this decision right now," in typical me fashion.
Same, right?
and is like, "I'm gonna go sit by myself and think for a bit. I'll be back in an hour." And then it notes, so Frodo gets up and walks away, and then it says, "Sam saw that while the others restrained themselves and did not stare at him, the eyes of Boromir followed Frodo intently." And I think it was at this point where I might have just gone like, when I was reading it, I might have gone like, I don't like this. This isn't good. I'm concerned. And mostly also just, I wrote, eyes of Boromir following Frodo, oh no. And then I put, Frodo off by himself, I'm concerned. So.
Which, for somebody that is really crucial to this whole thing, for them to just be like,
you go off by yourself.
The woods are full of orcs. Go take a minute.
Yeah, I'm sure it's fine.
I'm sure it's fine, right?
Oh my gosh. And like, I can't believe that they didn't at least say like, Sam, go with him.
Yeah, somebody.
Or that Sam didn't even follow him without being told, like he does most of the time anyway.
Right,
So,
yes. That was surprising.
Yeah, I was just like, this is not a good decision. So Frodo sits by the river and thinks for a little bit, and then it says, suddenly he awoke from his thoughts. A strange feeling came to him that something was behind him, that unfriendly eyes were upon him. And I think this is a point where I'm going to insert whatever I said at the moment, because I just remember being like, no, this isn't good. I don't like this. Oh, jeez. Nope. Okay, there we go. All right. Boromir? And I think at this point I was like, oh, it's Gollum, right? Gollum is going to show up and, like, eat him.
Because that's a very... It would have made sense at this point. Like, we've been building to that. We know that Gollum's following them.
Yeah. So I 100% thought... And also, like, once again, whenever they talk about Gollum following them up until now, it's always in reference to, like, he felt something watching him, or he felt eyes or whatever. Yeah, so I was like, oh, Gollum is there. And also, I don't know exactly what Gollum can do, but I know that he isn't great because of some comments that I made on episodes before, and then based on, like, the reactions of my guests, I'm like, okay, so I guess Gollum is dangerous. So I don't know exactly what Gollum can do.
Yep.
So right now in my mind, he's just, like, Pennywise the Clown, and he can just, like, eat people.
You're not too far off.
Okay, cool. He can just, so I was just like, okay, well, this is it. Frodo's gonna get eaten by Gollum.
Frodo's gonna get eaten
by Gollum.
That's how the Fellowship breaks, everyone. Frodo dies.
Frodo gets eaten by Gollum, that's it. But luckily for Frodo, or maybe unluckily, who knows, we'll decide. It's just Boromir.
Just Boromir.
I
like the line, this is like jumping ahead a little bit, but it says something about like how Boromir was like many times his size and strength. Yeah, that's just kind of a good little note, because I feel like it's easy to read this and forget, like oh, Frodo's like freaking 3 feet tall, and Boromir's this like warrior.
This is a grown man against a child.
Right.
Who will win? Have you seen those memes of like, who would win? Like 13,000 people in mid-century Europe, or a rat? A rat with whatever germ, the bubonic plague, whatever. Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's just a good little, like, Tolkien's an excellent writer, and it's a good little visual reminder.
Surprise!
He
can definitely kill Frodo. Yeah. So, Boromir is there. I wasn't really thinking, like, oh, Boromir's gonna go and confront Frodo, but, like, as it started happening, I was like, this does not surprise me at all. Oh, jeez, Boromir. You're gonna ruin it. And Boromir's basically like, what can I say to convince you to come with me? Frodo just starts off with, I do not think that any speech will help me, for I know what I should do, but I am afraid of doing it, Boromir. Afraid. Which is also, like, very brave of Frodo at the same time to be like, I'm afraid.
Mm-hmm. Which he kind of rightly should be.
I think so, too. Especially if they're going to be losing part of their group going to Mordor. Because I'm sure Frodo's like, well, at the very least, we're probably losing Boromir. Yeah. And who knows what Legolas... And Frodo has no idea what Legolas and Gimli would be doing. But he's probably like, well, I know that Aragorn and Sam and Merry and Pippin would follow me. But, I mean, we all know Sam and Merry and Pippin are about as helpful as a bag of potatoes, so...
Sam gets more helpful. And so do the others, eventually.
We'll talk more about Sam's usefulness in a bit.
Listen... Look at how much my dude has grown in 400 pages.
I will give him that.
He's got, like, 1,000 more.
I will give him that. He's still not my favorite.
That's fine.
And I have to say, I understand why people love Pippin so much, and it's only now that Gandalf isn't here to roast Pippin that I'm like, I miss Gandalf. Because we do not have nearly as many great Pippin moments, so...
It's true.
Which is also just a sign of the times that, you know, we don't have time for, like, Gandalf sass. Now. There's no more time to make fun of him, whatever. Ugh. Yeah, then I wrote down, Boromir, comma, I'm really not liking this. I just, as I was reading this section, I was just getting more and more uneasy. I don't like this. I really don't like this. Yes, so then Frodo says, I think I already know what counsel you would give Boromir. And at this point, Frodo also, so when, let's see, he also says, like, he's talking about, like, having to choose between, like, basically it's come down to choosing what is right and what is easy. And that's also, I think that's a very common trope in fantasy in general. And then I also know specifically that it's a Dumbledore quote. At least in one of the movies it is. But it might be also in the Goblet of Fire book. I can't remember. But, like, there comes a time when we all must choose between what is right and what is easy. And Frodo knows what he has to choose. And he has to choose to go to Mordor to destroy the ring. But he knows the easier choice is going with Boromir. And kind of just delaying the inevitable if they go to Minas Tirith. Okay, so side note. Here's my question. They keep talking about, we have to part ways because Boromir wants to go to Minas Tirith, but Mordor is over this way. Minas Tirith is literally right freaking next to Mordor. Here's Minas Tirith, and here is Mordor. Minas Tirith is on the way to Mordor. Why can they not do both? Is that just not the way that they want to go into? Because at this point in the book also... They haven't talked about how they're going to get into Mordor or where in Mordor they're going. All we know is Mordor.
I don't actually know the answer to this, but Gondor is at war right now. And there's a lot of sieging and storming of, castles. And I anticipate they would not want Frodo mixed up in that. Like, out of safety and also just the potential to lose the ring or have somebody steal it from him. In Boromir fashion. That's the answer that I would give. But I don't know.
Because they just always... I just really hate when they reference, like, oh yeah, we're going to Gondor. It's like, Gondor is an entire land.
We're going to Europe.
It's like when people who are not from the U.S. are like, oh, where do you live? And you just say, the United States. But then when you are from the United States, you say, like, I'm from Virginia. Because we all know because the United States is huge.
Large, yes.
Oh, that reminds me. I need to share. I saw someone put a graphic, like, overlay of Middle-earth and the paths that Bilbo and then Frodo and Sam take. And they overlaid it over the United States.
Oh, wow.
So you could see, like, exactly how far they go.
Oh, that's so cool.
And basically, I can't remember, but basically, like... Frodo and Sam ended up going, like, Mordor's in Florida, which is not surprising at all. Anyway, so I'll have to share that at some point.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what I'll share today. I don't know.
That's a good plan.
I have a reputation to maintain with my Lord of the Rings memes.
I know, I saw somebody blowing up your ego with their, like, oh wow, your social media is, like, the best
I know,
ever.
and I'm like, do you understand how dangerous this is? Also, I'm just like, I really am, like, I'm not trying to, like, brag or whatever, but, like, this is kind of sort of what I studied, and this is, social media is also, like,
your profession.
what I do for my day job. It's what I get paid for. So if I wasn't good at it, I would be, like, it would just be very sad.
It's true.
You know, I would just be living a very sad life of, like, oh, look at that girl who spent, you know, $100,000 on an education that didn't educate her anything, and then...
Got that good Christopher Newport education.
Yeah!
They taught you well. Yeah. Yeah, crunch those chips. I brought the most obnoxious snack, everyone.
I don't care. I'm hungry. Actually, I'm not hungry, but if you put anything... Because these are the garlic parmesan ones.
Mm-hmm.
If you put garlic parmesan anything next to me, it's going in my mouth.
Absolutely. And this is from the bachelorette party, and my friend was like, oh, take snacks home with you. And I did that, like, polite, like, are you sure? Like, while I'm reaching for the garlic
like,
parmesan
what? It's
chips.
already, like, in my bag. Let's see what...
What is Frodo doing?
Yeah, Frodo is sitting by the river being accosted by Boromir.
Mm-hmm.
And, yeah, this entire time I was just so uneasy. And I was just like, I don't like this at all.
And it very much, like, his tone shifts really quickly a lot in here, too, which is also very unsettling.
Very creepy.
He gets really creepy. For a little bit, the line I'm looking at, Frodo looks up, says his heart went suddenly cold, and he caught a strange gleam in Boromir's eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And then Boromir says, as you wish, I care not. He's trying to kind of brush it off really badly.
What? I don't care about this. What are you talking about?
Dives into this, like, diatribe about what he would do with the ring, and, like, it's a very creepy passage.
Oh, he's so creepy. He's so creepy.
She brought some hummus.
I was just thinking today, I was like, next time I go to the grocery store, I need to get hummus.
I love hummus.
Yeah, hummus would be great. Anywho, you know who doesn't have hummus? Frodo.
This whole scene would have been so different.
I know.
Boromir's just hangry.
Man, so, look, that just reminds me of a lot of, in today's search for a meme to post on the Instagram today, I came across a lot of great John Mulaney one-liners that applied directly to Boromir. And I'm definitely going to post one of them, but my favorite one so far is, you have the moral backbone of a chocolate eclair.
I love John Mulaney.
Oh my gosh. So, what a national treasure.
The immortal.
So yeah, Boromir is just getting creepier and creepier as this conversation goes on.
Yep.
And then eventually he said, they're talking about what Frodo's saying, no, I'm basically saying, like, I can't go with you to Minas Tirith. We're going to have to go to Mordor because of the ring. And Boromir says, the ring. Is it not a strange fate that we should suffer so much fear and doubt for so small a thing? And it was at this point that I was like, oh no, Boromir, not this again.
Right.
I was like, you're not on this still.
Boromir, not this again.
And then Boromir says, for you seem ever to think only of its power in the hands of the enemy, of its evil uses, not of its good. The world is changing, you say. Minas Tirith will fall if the ring lasts. But why? Certainly, if the ring were with the enemy. But why if it were us? And then Frodo is everyone else when he responds, were you not at the council?
Of its evil uses, not of its good. The world is changing, you say. Minas Tirith will fall if the ring lasts. But why? Certainly, if the ring were with the enemy. But why if it were with us? Were you not at the council? Answered Frodo, because we cannot use it.
Were you listening? Did I stutter?
And then, yeah, basically. And then this is where another John Mulaney quote applies here. And it's John Mulaney going, it's something like, oh, you get out of here with your facts. And then Boromir says, Gandalf, Elrond, all these folk have taught you to say so. For themselves, they may be right. These elves and half-elves and wizards, they would come to grief perhaps, yet often I doubt if they are wise and not merely timid. I'm like, them fighting words,
Yep,
Boromir. Like,
yep.
you're, like, literally Gandalf and Elrond are... They're like the most credible sources. If
Right.
if they say the ring is not good, I believe them.
And
please.
also, like, how condescending to Frodo, who has literally been chased for the whole first half of this book by ring wraiths that are specifically after the ring.
The ring. And to
be like, oh no, like, it's fine, you're just letting them, like, fake news.
Yeah.
Like...
Literally. Oh my, Boromir would 100% be a climate change denier.
Anti-vaxxer.
Oh my gosh, you know
it's
it.
Big Pharma.
Oh, well, I said earlier that Goldberry and Tom Bombadil would be anti-vaxxers,
They can form a group.
Yeah, there we go.
Except they would hate Boromir.
Boromir would 100% be... I don't know if he's so much an anti-vaxxer as a climate change denier.
Absolutely, yeah.
He's literally... I mean, it's just, like I said, you get out of here with your facts. Like, the two most credible, knowledgeable, powerful people that we have met thus far, I believe, have said the ring is not good, let's not use the ring.
Yep.
And Boromir's like, what do they know?
Right.
Only
us true-hearted men.
What does Elrond know? Only an eternity of knowledge.
He says, true-hearted men, they will not be corrupted. He says, while he's actively
being corrupted. Oh my gosh, yes. Also, this is kind of confirming a bit of my theory from the previous episode that the ring has kind of like, almost like a bubble around it of like, people who are near it can be affected by it, even if they're not wearing it or carrying it, like Frodo is.
Definitely.
Like the locket Horcrux does in Deathly Hallows. Anyway, I just like pointing out the moments when I'm right, so because I'm wrong a lot of the times. Also, at one point, I was very convinced during this speech that, hang in there with me for a bit. I was very convinced that Gollum had killed Boromir and then was wearing his skin like a suit.
What?
I was like, Gollum has killed Boromir and has taken over.
Gollum is?
Well, no, I mean not like literally wearing it. I was like, this is some Loki trickster magic.
Oh, okay.
And Gollum has taken out Boromir and is now impersonating Boromir and is trying to get the ring from Frodo. Kind of like how Nagini wears the body suit of, what's her name? Bathilda Bagshot.
Oh, yeah.
And then like comes out of the skin suit. I know, in the creepiest scene. Exactly. Oh my gosh.
So you were you really pulling for Boromir then, that you just did not want him?
No, it wasn't even that.
This?
I was mostly like, Boromir's being so erratic and angry and irrational at this point that I was like, oh, there's no way this could be this could actually be Boromir.
Yeah.
Because Boromir's stupid, but he's not this stupid. Turns out he's this stupid.
Yep.
I'm trying to find the like quote where I was like, oh my god, this is it. Oh, it says, Frodo looked up, his heart went suddenly cold. He caught the strange gleam in Boromir's eyes, yet his face was still kind and friendly. So again, the eyes language was throwing me off, and I'm like, oh my god, well obviously Gollum has taken over, possessed Boromir, and is trying to get the ring from Frodo. I mean, and then he's gonna eat him.
The end.
Yeah. Again, I think that's a moment. I'll insert a clip here if I screamed about that while I was reading it.
All these folks have taught you to say so. For themselves, they may be right. These elves... Is this some kind of Loki trickster thing? Was Boromir Gollum? Did Gollum kill Boromir a long, long time ago and has just been pretending to be Boromir for a long time? And now he's swooping in for the kill. These elves and half-elves and wizards, they would come to grief, perhaps. Yet often I doubt if they are wise and not merely timid, but each to his own kind, true-hearted men. They will not be corrupted. We of Minas Tirith have been staunch through... We do not desire only the strength to defend ourselves. Boromir, you idiot.
Yeah, so basically Boromir's like, what do Gandalf and Elrond know? Literally everything. They only know everything.
Yep, basically. Then he just kind of starts monologuing.
Yeah, and then so I'm going through, I'm just reading through my notes again. I wrote, he's gonna try to take the ring or something. Mm-hmm. And then my next note is, oh, Boromir, why? So it's at this point, that Boromir is really trying to convince Frodo to give him the ring, because in Boromir's mind, the way to solve this problem is they have the ring, they defeat they win all the wars and battles in Gondor and win back the land and the throne and everything. And then they can go and once they have command over the land, then they can go into Mordor, I guess, and destroy the ring or whatever.
Like, he's got generally good intentions. He's not taking it like, I'm gonna be Middle-earth Hitler. He wants to save his people, and he wants to, like, put things right.
Yeah. It's just, that's a good point. I guess I understand. Ugh.
He's blinded by the evil of the ring.
I understand that. It really, it really is, a matter of he's blinded by, or corrupted by the power, and all he can see is, like, is imagining, like, what he could do with the ring, and... Also kind of like going back to some of my thoughts on the previous chapter of how I'm sure he's being resentful at this point towards Aragorn about like, I would totally do a different plan with this ring if it were me, if I were the leader. But Gandalf didn't put me in charge, so what does he know? Well, actually, also Gandalf did not put Aragorn in charge either.
Nope.
Aragorn
didn't want to be in charge.
Barely put Aragorn in charge. But Frodo put Aragorn in charge, let's be real.
Kind of going back to Boromir being tempted by the ring, too, people do not give Frodo enough credit, and I heard somebody talking about Harry Potter, that nobody ever, when you say, like, who's your favorite Harry Potter character, no one ever says Harry. And it's like, we kind of, like, you spend so much time with the main characters of these stories, you kind of, like, just get used to these incredible, miraculous feats that they're doing, and it's just kind of like, oh, yeah, whatever. Like, Frodo has had this ring on his body for months, at least.
And he slipped up a couple times, sure.
He's kind of, like, slipped it on his finger and felt a little angry sometimes, but, like, I mean, Boromir is almost homicidal.
Haven't we all put a piece of jewelry on and then felt angry?
But, yeah, I mean, it is, like, it's changing people's personalities around him, and he's strong enough to, hold back from that, which is impressive.
Yeah, I kind of liken it to how, spoiler alert for Harry Potter, I all of a sudden, like within the past couple weeks or months, had the realization that like Harry's been a Horcrux his entire life. Because a huge argument of Harry Potter, or at least like an interesting like debate or essay topic or whatever, is like nature versus nurture. Like, Harry literally grew up with a piece of pure evil inside of him his entire life. And he grew up in an abusive household and everything. And he had all the makings and reasons to turn out to be an awful, evil person. And he still wasn't. And I was like, wow, that... Like, I don't know what it was, but in the past couple of weeks, I was just like, oh my god. Like, I all of a sudden realized, like, oh wow, Harry was a Horcrux the entire time. And the fact that he never... Like, he had his moments. Right. Order the Phoenix. He had his angsty moments.
There's some teenage angst happening, too. It's
but the fact that he remained to his core, like, good, the chosen one, boy who lived Harry Potter. Right. Is a huge testament to his character. So...
Yeah.
Okay, Frodo, you win this time.
Yes. And that's, I mean, it's going to happen throughout the rest of the trilogy, obviously, the ring is very evil, it encounters people, they do things.
And people have to resist it.
Frodo just continues resisting it, and it gets more and more impressive the longer it goes on, I think.
And also, like, says a lot to, kind of going back to what Boromir was saying, where does he say? Oh yeah, true-hearted men, they will not be corrupted. The fact that, like, Boromir himself, in his mind, who is a big, strong, burly, true-hearted man... is being corrupted, and then this, like, little tiny halfling is, I mean, only kind of being corrupted by it.
Very slowly.
Just a little bit.
A tiny bit.
Just a little bit. Yeah, so Boromir is just getting more and more erratic. Like I said, at this point, I was very convinced that he was secretly Gollum trying to eat Frodo. And then at one point, I was like, okay, I guess it's not Gollum trying to eat Frodo. Boromir, I love this. Why are you so unfriendly, said Boromir. I am a true man. Neither a thief nor tracker. So at this point I was like, oh, he's digging on Aragorn. How dare he?
I am a true man, neither thief nor tracker? What does that mean? Is he saying that Aragorn is not a true man?
It's also, I'm a nice guy.
It's like, what are you talking? Boromir Boromir would 100% wear a fedora non-ironically.
No, don't give me that image.
I mean, look, he would.
No, he wouldn't. No, he would not.
Okay, I will tweet out a poll. Go vote on it now, at TolkienAboutPod on Twitter.
You know how you're supposed to vote.
Would Boromir wear a fedora unironically?
The answer is no.
The answer is yes. So, and then Boromir's like, fine, just give me the ring, and basically jumps at Frodo. Oh, and at this point I'm gonna correct myself. At this point I'm still very convinced that Boromir is secretly Gollum.
When did that go away?
Because it says, let's see, so Boromir lunges at Frodo, and says, suddenly he sprang over the stone and leapt at Frodo. His hair and pleasant face was hideously changed. A raging fire was in his eyes. So when it said hideously changed, a raging fire was in his eyes, I thought the next paragraph was going to go into, like, suddenly, like, his skin was wrinkled and old, and his eyes were big and bug-eyed and yellow, and then I was like, oh my god, it's going to slowly describe his transformation from Boromir to Gollum.
I will again direct you backwards in the story.
Oh jeez.
I'm not going to be able to find this one, I don't think, so I'll just describe
sure
it.
You can.
But, so...
I'll eat some garlic parmesan.
Eat some chips while I explain myself. So... when they were in Rivendell, after Frodo had recovered from his wound and everything, and he is reunited with Bilbo, there was a moment, I'm going off of the movie,
exactly what you're talking
but there's
about.
also in the book when he, like, Bilbo says to Frodo, like, oh, you remember that ring that I had?
Ring?
Could I see it for a second? And I think Frodo says no. And Bilbo, like, just loses his mind and, like, lunges for it. And I think in the movie, at least, it's really scary because he, like, turns into, like, a goblin-y monster. But I think in the book, he is described to, like, his face changes and, like, he just becomes, like, he doesn't look like himself kind of thing.
No, you're right. It's towards the end of the chapter, right before the Council of Elrond chapter. They're in, like, the elf hall doing, like, songs and dances and stuff. And Bilbo's like, so, that ring, huh? What a weird ancient relic is that, right? And then Frodo pulls it. He actually does pull it out to show him. And then Frodo looks up and sees Bilbo as, like, an evil goblin man.
Yep.
So, that's terrifying.
Which, do we want to assume, is this a literal, like, they are actually being, like, transformed and looking, like, monster-y? Or is this a, like, internal, their hearts are just being turned and they're tempted by evil and it's kind of like a shadow passing over? Like, is this symbolic or is this literal kind of thing?
I think it's kind of both in the sense of when Frodo puts on the ring, he can see, like, the dark realm or whatever it is, the evil realm or the foggy realm. I don't know what
the
it's
upside
called.
down.
The upside down. Yeah, he goes to the upside down. So I guess it's kind of similar in that sense of, like, people who have been affected or touched by the ring have been to the upside down.
Yes, okay.
And in the upside down, they look different. And so I guess when you're a person who has been affected by the ring, looking at another person who has been affected by the ring, you see the other person as you would see them, as if you were wearing the ring and you were in the upside down. I like how we're just referring to this as the upside down.
That is way deeper than anything I could have come up with, so
Lit!
Thank you. Nice.
Yes!
Well done.
I like it when I say things that my guests are like, wow, that actually
That's
sounded
insightful,
smart.
Right? I have no idea if it's true or not, but we'll go with it.
Anywho, Boromir lunges at Frodo and is like, well, I'll take the ring myself. I'll insert a clip here if I've said anything. I don't remember what I said. Once again, it was probably just like, Boromir.
Oh, God, you're so dumb. This is why you die.
Then, Frodo.
I mean, he gets out of it, though, to his credit.
To his credit.
Boromir's freaking 3 times his size.
Fine. Frodo dodged aside and again put the stone between him. There was only one thing he could do. Trembling, he pulled out the ring upon its chain and quickly slipped it on his finger, even as Boromir sprang at him. And I believe this is when I said, Frodo, you dumb slut.
Frodo dodged aside and again put the stone between them. There was only one thing that he could do. Trembling, he pulled out the ring upon its chain and quickly slipped it on his finger, even as Boromir sprang at him again. Why?
But it works.
Because I was like, Gandalf literally told you one thing. And the one thing was, don't put the ring on. You had one job.
I think this counts as extraneous circumstances, though. Like, a member of your company that's sworn to protect you is literally trying to, like, kill you for this ring.
Oh, so then at one point... So Boromir's mad that he's disappeared and is now invisible. Mm-hmm. And then Boromir trips and falls on a stone. And it says, then, catching his foot on a stone, he fell sprawling and lay upon his face. For a while he was as still as if his own curse had struck him down. And for a second I was like, that's how Boromir dies. I was like, Boromir dies because he hit his head on... He tripped and hit his head on a rock. Like how Rick pushes Terry in the episode of Degrassi, and it's a very dramatic moment.
Oh, it seems like it.
Side note, for people who don't watch Degrassi, Rick is the one who shoots Drake's character that ends him up in a wheelchair for the rest of the series.
Goodness, what's this show?
It's a great show.
Oh.
It's all free on YouTube. And I honestly, I'm not even ever going to bring this up to Tyler and Ethan, but I low-key really want to start a podcast about Degrassi after I finish this, not because it's at all related to Lord of the Rings, but because Degrassi is the most dramatic. It is the most dramatic show ever. And I love it. It's a teen Canadian soap opera that's also an after-school special. Yep.
That sounds like something.
I love it. Anyhow. But there's an episode where the school shooter, before he's a school shooter, he's a domestic abuser. Sorry, I don't know why I'm laughing.
Cool.
And he's in a relationship with a girl named Terry. They did Terry a dirty in this show. And he's like, no, I love you. Don't walk away. And Terry's like, Rick, you're hurting me. And then he pushes her and she falls back and hits her head on a rock. And then she goes into a coma. And then she supposedly transfers to another school and you never see of her again. So, which happens a lot on that show. There was one girl that went to Africa and then you just never heard from her again.
She got eaten by lions.
Well, no, what's funny is that there's another character on the show who is that character's sister. Mm-hmm. And so every now and then they bring her and they're like, oh yeah, Darcy, like that time on that ski trip with Darcy and Dad, it was so fun. And I'm like, are we really just going to ignore the fact that she's still in Africa after all these years?
Skiing in Africa.
Oh my gosh. Anyway, yeah, no. So for a minute there, I was like, Boromir dies because he hits his head on a rock? What the heck? And then I was like, I mean, I guess that makes sense. I mean, if there's a way for Boromir to go out at this point, it's by tripping and hitting his head on a rock. So
it's a little. I don't think it's a spoiler to say it's a little better than that. Not.
Well, I think any death would be better than that.
Yeah.
Oh man.
No, it's well. So while I was getting ready to be on this episode, I found a blog about Lord of the Rings.
That's right. You were talking about that.
Link my sources somewhere. I don't know.
Yeah, share it with me, and I'll put the blog post in the show notes.
Unless it sucks.
Okay, I won't do it unless it sucks.
But what I read, it was really interesting. The blogger said this is a good comparison between Boromir and Galadriel, who are both tempted by the ring through Frodo and have vastly different responses.
This is true.
Which is
Galadriel has the correct response.
She has the correct response, but it's like, I don't know, it's very easy, I feel like, when you're reading these books to be like, oh, Boromir sucks. Like, oh, Boromir's the bad guy. He's weak. Like, Galadriel's awesome. All these other people.
You're literally saying the opinions that I have so far.
But like,
I'm
sure there's a lot that goes into it.
Look, I will say, all of this, Boromir is the worst. Like, all of this is all in good fun, and I'm sure there's a lot more nuance to his character. At this point in the series, there is zero nuance to his character.
He will get deeper.
We'll see about that.
He will. But yeah, it's just a little nugget to keep in the back of your head, like how different people respond to the temptations of the ring.
This is true.
How people in general respond.
Also, like, how Boromir has, like, low-key been envious and kind of resentful towards Aragorn is also a testament to, it shows the great difference in their characters, that Boromir has been affected by the ring but just by proximity, whereas Aragorn has been with the ring for much longer.
Yeah.
And also literally closer to the ring, just thinking about, like, Boromir and Frodo have been in different boats the whole time.
Yeah.
So the fact that Aragorn hasn't been corrupted.
Physical proximity, yeah.
Yeah, the fact that Aragorn hasn't been affected by it, but Boromir has, definitely says a lot about the character of Aragorn.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, definitely. And that's also, I just forgot until just now.
Yes.
Is important for Aragorn too, because he is Isildur's heir. And Isildur, I think you know this.
Is he the one that got his hand chopped off?
He did get his hand chopped. No, he chopped off.
He chopped off the
Sauron's hand and took the ring.
Okay. And then did he lose the ring at some point?
I don't think this is a spoiler. I'm just gonna say it anyway. I think it's fine. He had the opportunity to destroy the ring, and he chose not to.
Oh,
so
snap.
it's Isildur's Bane is the ring, because it's like he had the chance to end this like horrible evil, and he didn't.
And then at some point he lost literal control over the ring because at some point it got into the hands of other people. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And well, that's
so it's very important to Aragorn's literal life story.
Yeah.
But
that's great context to have.
Stuff.
Yes. So I'm just reading my notes again. Yeah, so I wrote, oh, Boromir, why? Then my next note, why Frodo? Literally, stop that. And Frodo runs away with the ring on. And he kind of is just like stumbling away, because also at this point, like we were talking about, he's in the upside down now.
Yes.
Because he has the ring on. He comes to the seat of seeing on Amonhen, the hill of the eye of the men of Numenor. And he's seeing everything basically with like an evil filter over it, like an Instagram filter for Halloween, where you swipe left and suddenly like there's crows everywhere and it's black and white.
Spiders crawling on your screen.
Exactly, yeah, that's it. And it says, but everywhere he looked, he saw the signs of war. The misty mountains were crawling like anthills. Orcs were issuing out of 1,000 holes. Under the boughs of Mirkwood, there was deadly strife of elves and men and fell beasts. The land of the... What?
Sorry, I don't
the land of the Bjornings.
Good, sure. Yep.
But a Bjorn is the thing you put a baby in to strap it to your body. Side note, a great costume is Jason Bjorn, and this is on the most recent Halloween episode of Bob's Burgers. Louise always goes as these great costumes, and the one she was in the most recent episode, she was Jason Bjorn. And so she dressed like Jason Bourne and then wore an empty baby Bjorn.
Wait, that's so great.
Anyway, the land of the Bjornings was aflame. A cloud was over Moria. Smoke rose on the borders of Lorien. So yeah, basically there's an evil filter over the world.
And I feel like in your last episode, or at some point, you've mentioned, like, we talk a lot about, like, the ring's so powerful and evil, but, like, what does it actually do? And I feel like this kind of gives you a little bit of a sense, like, he's seeing everything. He's seeing America laid out before him and, like, everything that's going on. Like, it's kind of a little bit of, like, the power that the ring has.
Yeah, I was going to say, it probably, it's showing, I think, what could be, and also, like, the very possible future of, like, this is what it's going to look like if you don't destroy, if the ring, if Sauron has his way with the ring.
Well, I don't think, like, kind of, but it's also the ring showing him this, so I don't think the ring would be like,
oh yeah, I don't think, hey,
I don't destroy me.
Kill me.
Like, look, I'm gonna do this. Like, there's nothing you can do about it.
I think that, yeah, exactly. And then, darkness lay there under the sun, fire glowed amid the smoke, Mount Doom was burning, and a great reek rising. Then, at last, his gaze was held. Wall upon wall, battlement upon battlement, black, immeasurably strong, mountain of... This is a lot of descriptive language.
Many adjectives, yes.
Mountain of iron, gate of steel, tower of adamant. He saw it. Barad Dor, fortress of Sauron. All hope left him. And then Frodo has a little inner battle with himself, and he eventually takes the ring off. Then Frodo's thinking about what to do, and he says, I will do now what I must. This at least is plain. The evil of the ring is already at work, even in the company, and the ring must leave them before it does more harm. I will go alone. And then I wrote down, Frodo, no, this is dumb.
Frodo, you dumb slut. Why? What are you gonna do? You're not gonna be able to do anything.
Aww, he's being noble.
I don't care. It's like when Harry Potter is like,
no, but
I'm
it's
gonna
not
go
a
off
stupid
by
like
myself.
I don't wanna put my friends in danger, blah
No,
blah
that's
blah.
what Harry did in like the beginning.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. Like
Sorry,
Frodo
there's gnats everywhere in this
you're
apartment.
Like, Frodo, I feel like he's more afraid, like, everybody's gonna be corrupted around me. They're all gonna turn into psychopath Boromir over here. I just don't
That's true, we don't want a fellowship full of
that to happen.
Boromirs.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a nightmare.
So, I mean, it's noble in that sense, but it's also not the stupid, like, typical YA hero, like, I have to be cool.
I'm like, this is my burden.
This is my burden.
Yeah, I get
practically,
that.
I don't want these people turning on me. I care about them. I'm gonna go and do this impossible task myself.
Yeah. I mean, I still think it's dumb.
And it is,
I'm like,
yes.
I'm like, Frodo, you could barely survive when it was like you, Pippin, and Sam in the very beginning.
But is Pippin really worth much?
I mean, yes, but I mean, like that's what I'm saying. Is like he could barely survive with the help of 2 other hobbits. So
Yeah.
how is he going to do this by himself?
It's true. Yeah.
So then we jump cut back to the gang, and they're sitting around wondering what Frodo will do. And Aragorn, so they're just talking about, I wonder what he'll do, which I can't believe they're even like, I wonder what he will do. Like, to me, it seems very obvious that he's at the very least not going to go to Gondor.
Also, does anybody but Boromir think it's a good idea to go to Gondor?
Well, like because Legolas and Gimli say, I'd rather go to Gondor. Or I'd rather go to Minas Tirith.
Yeah, because there's, like, war happening there. They're like, we want to go help the war
that,
effort.
Yeah. So Gimli and Legolas are in the camp of like, I think we should do that. But they at least have the opinion and I don't know, hindsight or whatever to go like, but if Frodo says that he's going to go to Mordor, we'll go with you.
Yeah. Because that's what they already agreed to.
Yeah. Because they do not have the moral backbones of a chocolate eclair. Unlike someone else.
Nice croissants.
Yeah, I was gonna. Yeah, what are the fellowship? Just like
pastries.
What are the fellowships and
pastries?
pastries?
Oh my gosh, we're gonna be here all night. Sam's a cream puff.
Sam's a cream puff.
No, he's not.
Yes, he is. No, he's totally a cream puff. Oh my god. Okay. In my mind, Aragorn is a nice cake donut. I appreciate a good
Dark
cake
chocolate.
donut. Yeah, chocolate cake donut. We don't actually have to do that.
Boromir's has gone bad.
Oh my god. Yeah, Boromir's a stale chocolate eclair. And then the hobbits I feel like are donut holes.
They're not complete donuts. They're just
They're just little donut holes.
the munchkins.
And Legolas is... He's Lambus.
He's Limbus. There you go.
There we go.
Gimli is hardtack.
He's what?
He's hardtack. He's the like Civil War bread that like breaks your teeth.
Oh, he's he's like a scone,
like a really crappy scone.
Yeah. But one that you made like 5 months ago that your wife mailed to you. Oh my god. So
anyway. Stay tuned for more. What are the Fellowship as?
Sam is a cream puff. That's my favorite quote.
I love Sam.
I think that's my favorite quote so far of this entire podcast series.
Yes! I win!
Anywho. Yeah, so they're wondering all what to do and like talking about what they would personally do. And Aragorn says, so he's talking about, Aragorn says like, if Frodo decides to go east, we shouldn't all go with him. Like that, it's not worth it for all of us to go with him. That venture is desperate, as much so for 8 as for 3 or 2 or 1 alone. If you would let me choose, then I would appoint 3 companions. Sam, who could not bear it otherwise, and Gimli and myself. Boromir will return to his own city where his father and his people need him. And with him, the others should go. Or at least Meriadoc and Peregrine, if Legolas is not willing to leave us. And it's at this point that I'm like, Mary has a full name?
Oh, yeah.
Meriadoc?
Brandybuck. Yep.
I was like, what?
And Peregrine Took.
I knew that he was Peregrine Took.
But also, Aragorn, this is like the first time he steps up in like chapters.
Yeah, so...
You're like, you can't, you're splitting up the bros. Like, Legolas and Gimli are tight now. You can't just do that.
This is true.
And you can't, like, obviously the hobbits are not going to want to be split up like that. You can't just be like, alright, we're going to ship Merry and Pippin off back to the Shire. because they're not important enough.
Yeah.
I see his logic, but I do not like this plan.
It's funny you say that because I wrote down, seems like a pretty solid plan to me.
Okay, fair.
Of like, let's split up. You guys go to Gondor.
Those are like the most
we'll go to Mordor.
Members of the company.
Personally,
honestly.
I think I'll insert another recording here.
I mean, I think this is a pretty solid plan. Personally, I'd rather take Legolas than Sam, but fine.
But I think I was thinking out loud of like, oh, this is how I would split it up. And I think it said something like, I mean, obviously instead of Sam, I would rather put
Mary.
Legolas and Gimli.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I was like, why don't Aragorn and Legolas and Gimli and Frodo go to Mordor, and then Sam and the rest of the Hobbs can go to Gondor.
Man, that would have been wild. What if that's how it happened? What if it was Frodo and Aragorn and
I feel like the series would be a lot shorter.
It would be so much shorter.
It would be a lot shorter.
Ballin'.
I mean, I know Sam would put up a fight, but like...
You could go off and do noble things with other people.
I was gonna say, it's for the betterment of the entire, like, Middle-earth.
No,
so...
You hold your tongue.
Yeah, and like you said, like, this is literally the first time Aragorn has been like, here's an idea.
Yeah.
As team leader.
Right.
Here's an idea of
He's
what
big
we
on
could
delegating.
do. Then, Pippin, they're kind of thinking more, they're trying to think more like Frodo would think. Mm-hmm. And Pippin says, and he doesn't like to ask anyone to go with him, poor old fellow. Imagine it, going off to Mordor alone. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, Pippin does this a lot throughout this book, at least, where, like, he'll say something kind of, like, jokingly or ironically, and then it's like, oh, wait, no, that is the literal meaning of irony, is when you as the reader know something that the characters in the book don't know.
Dramatic irony.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, that happens a lot with... I've noticed that, like, Tolkien gives Pippin those ironic lines of, like, can you imagine that? Frodo going off by himself? Psh, that's crazy talk. And then it's, like, cut to... It's like, meanwhile, Frodo is already in a rowboat halfway across the Great River.
By himself.
And it's at this point that they're like, Boromir, what do you think of this? And then they're like, oh crap, where's Boromir? This isn't good. And then Boromir kind of stumbles back to the group, and they're like, what happened? Boromir's like, nothing good.
I don't want to talk about it.
I've made a huge mistake. And they realize it's been a very long time since Frodo said he would be back. So they all go away, and
they all kind of panic and scatter.
Yeah.
It's not an organized, like, let's go.
Oh yeah, they're
Frodo.
like, you guys, they're like,
Aragorn's literally like grabbing after them, like, no.
And Sam goes with Aragorn and eventually falls behind. And Sam is finally like, okay, stop. Think with your brain, you hobbit. Mm-hmm. And he starts thinking like Frodo, and he's like, well, Frodo couldn't possibly... It's not like he can fly anywhere and he can't really run. So, like, how is he going to get out of this land? Oh, the boats. Mm-hmm. So he goes back to the boats, and that's where he sees... I'm trying to think, does he...
He's got the ring on.
Oh, yeah, he still has the ring on. So the boat is just, like...
Which also, you're like...
It's just kind of funny.
You can take it off, bud. It's okay.
Yeah, so the boat is just kind of, like, floating off by itself now at this point. And then Sam... This is what I was referring to earlier when I was like, we'll talk a little bit more later about Sam's usefulness. Because Sam is like, no, Frodo, let me come with you. And then he jumps into the water and promptly drowns.
He's got heart.
He can't swim.
I have much respect for Peter Jackson and just the way that he handles the end of the movie, The Fellowship, because he combines some other things and it's a lot more exciting.
Yeah, I remember the end of the movie, a lot else, like a lot of other things are happening at the same. It's not just like, oh, everyone was scattered looking for Frodo. Yeah, there's other things going on at the time that distract them from Frodo leaving. Right,
but this scene specifically, I don't think the line is in the book, but like Sam jumps in the water and Frodo says something like, no, you can't swim, like, Sam, go back, like, I'm going to Mordor, and Sam's like, I know you are, and I'm coming with you, and it's just very like he's willing to put himself at risk because he cares about Frodo so much. It's not so much like he's a dork that just jumps in and is like, oh, whoops, can't swim, forgot about that. Like, he's like, no, I'm gonna do whatever it takes to follow this guy.
Yeah, no, I get that it is kind of, like, in his own way, this is, like, Sam's version of a heroic act. Yeah. Of him jumping in the water, regardless of whether or not he can swim, just because he wants to get to Frodo. But for me, it was just a moment of like, really? Because now Frodo has to save Sam when Sam was the one who was trying to save Frodo from running off by himself. I don't know.
That's fair.
So then Frodo pulls him up and and I don't know, so this made me laugh. So Frodo gets him and he says, "Of all the confounded nuisances, you are the worst, Sam," he said. And at first I thought he was saying, "You are the worst, Sam." and then I reread it and it was like, oh no, he's saying like, of all the confounded nuisances, you are the worst nuisance.
Yeah. So he's kind of saying you're the worst.
Yeah, so it kind of is saying you're the worst, but I was just like, I thought he was just straight up saying you are the worst. And the fact that I've been calling Boromir the worst, I was like, oh my gosh, like Tolkien, he knows.
He's ahead of his time.
Yeah.
That's his memes.
Anyway, and then Sam asks, if I hadn't have guessed right, where would you be now? And Frodo says, safely on my way. And to me, I highlighted that just because to me it sounds like, it's like, how can you even sleep at night? And it's like, on my side with the window cracked.
Right.
It's like, where would you even be right now if I wasn't with you? I mean, I'd be safely on my way.
Yep.
So. My last notes are, so I'll read the last chapter. The last paragraph.
There you go.
At length they came again upon the southern slopes of Mon Law. There they found a shelving shore, and they drew the boat out, high above the water, and hid it well as they could behind a great boulder. Then shouldering their burdens, they set off, seeking a path that would bring them over the grey hills of the... Oh, I'm ruining this now because I don't know how to say Immanuel.
Sure.
And down into the land of shadow.
The end.
Question mark?
Dun, dun, dun.
My last two notes for this chapter are, you are the worst, Sam.
Whoa.
No, I think I wrote it down because of the quote. You are, like, of all the nuisances, you are the worst.
Yeah, I got you.
And then I wrote down, that's it?
That's it.
So it's at this point that I'm like, I get why Tolkien's like, it's not 3 books. Mm-hmm. It's one long book.
Right, because it makes sense for you
because this does not feel, this does not at all feel like, oh, what a fun epic ending to a book. Or like, oh, it is a little bit of a cliffhanger, but it's not like a great cliffhanger.
He doesn't tell you, what like kind of bothered me rereading this was you don't know anything about what happens to the rest of the Fellowship. Like, it's not even like, oh, we've left them in peril. It's like, they just kind of ran into the woods.
Like Sam, as loyal as Sam is to Frodo, like, Sam and Frodo really don't care about Merry and Pippin.
Yeah, for real. The rest
they're like, I
gone.
guess they'll be fine.
Right.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
So, it's not a very dramatic ending, but it's what we got.
That's true, yeah. So, I mean, like, honestly, the ending of the chapter that ends book 1 in this book is so much more like dramatic and cool and cliffhanger.
Frodo's
and I'm like
dying.
I'm like, oh right, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And then this chapter is like, Sam and Frodo sail off into the sunset.
Yep.
The end?
That's all question mark.
To be continued.
So I have a question, and I was going to ask it for your Q&A episode, but I think I'm going to ask it now instead. So how do you think the story ends? Like, given what you've got at this point, how do you think Return of the King ends? Sure.
Well, obviously Boromir's dead at some point.
Is he?
I don't know.
Pull a Gandalf?
Oh my god. I will be really mad if after all of this, like, oh, Boromir's dead spoiler stuff, he doesn't actually die, or he just comes back to life. Okay, so Return of the King. I'm assuming the Return of the King is referring to Aragorn, to his rightful throne in, I don't know where. Minas Tirith. Gondor, sure. I think I know that at some point Gollum, like, manipulates Frodo or something, and Frodo is, like, momentarily taken over by the ring. Mm-hmm. And then Sam is... No. Maybe, I don't know.
I kind of just want your... Like, I don't want you to think I just want, like, predictions. Like, where we are now, what you got.
So, my prediction for, like, what would happen is that, like, Frodo's taken over by the ring, but then Sam saves them, and then they go and throw the ring in the fire, and woo, it's all good. Mm-hmm. However, I think I have inferred from what people have said about Sam and memes and pictures and stuff that Sam is the one to throw it into the fire because Frodo is, like, almost dying or whatever, and then he goes and throws it into the volcano.
Okay.
I don't know. That's my prediction.
Okay.
I don't want it to be that because I would really like for Sam to just not do anything. Oh, he's
dead
just...
in a ditch somewhere.
He's just... No, not dead in it. Just like I said, I would prefer for him to go off to Gondor with the other hobbits, and then Gimli and Legolas and Aragorn go to Mordor with Frodo. I think that's a great story. Tolkien. Tolkien and his themes.
So much better.
Themes of loyalty and friendship. How dare he?
So what about the rest of the Fellowship? What do you think happens to them?
Well, Boromir dies.
We've established this.
Hopefully... I'm assuming maybe, like, Legolas returns to Lorien or Rivendell as a esteemed elf or whatever, and maybe takes on some new position of power. Gimli maybe becomes, like, the most famous dwarf ever, and then maybe Gimli and Legolas host, like, a dwarf elf. I'm picturing like I'm picturing like a family reunion type of thing where they have to do like three-legged race contests and egg tosses, and they have to do the thing where like they go and they have to like balance on the log in the lake, and they have to like so the elves and dwarves have to do that.
Cool. So they can bridge the divide.
Sam builds a garden. Merry, I hope, is living his best life. Pippin, I don't really care.
Oh shoot.
No. Pippin is probably, I don't know, off at some pub or whatever. Whatever it was they mentioned, it was something like the Green Giant. No, that's...
The Green Giant?
That's the broccoli. That's the broccoli mascot. What do they call it? There's
the Green Dragon.
That's it. Look. I mean, I think in terms of... in terms of the fantasy characters and creatures, a giant and dragon, not that far off, excuse me. Bill the Pony has obviously returned to Sam.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And they're living happily. Bill the Pony has met Berta the Pony. And now they have children.
Little baby ponies.
Little baby Bill Juniors and Berta Juniors. Oh, well, that brings us to the end of this chapter, the end of this book.
Whoa!
That's insane. Listeners, be on the lookout this weekend, hopefully on Friday, for a little mini episode that I'll be doing where I'll be answering your questions and giving more of my predictions and theories and nonsense before we jump into Two Towers, just because I feel like I need to like sort my thoughts out about like what happened in this book and what is to come. Yeah, that's it. Bethany, what would you like to share with our audience?
You can find me on Twitter at Bethany_Pyle. That's Pyle with a Y. And also, you can help make my dog go viral if you follow me on Instagram at Pyle of Gold. He's pretty cute. He's a dachshund.
He's a Halloweenie. That was the best. So our other... Oh, and also former guest on Tolkien About as well, Kelsey Ripa. You tweeted that Caspian is like...
He's really afraid of Halloween decorations. Like, he's real brave. Like, he's into everything. His name is Caspian, so he's gotta be real brave and cool. But, like, people that put, like, skeletons or, like, somebody had those, like, zombie witch things like sticking out of their ground and like not even down by the sidewalk, but we were walking and he like stopped and looked and like the hair on the back of his like neck rose up and he started like barking. It was like, whoa, this dog hates Halloween decorations.
And then our friend and Bethany tweeted about this and our friend Kelsey replied and said he's a Halloweenie because he's a dachshund.
And I groaned.
I laughed. I was like, oh, sick burn on a literal puppy.
Right? Yeah, he's just a baby.
Oh my gosh. That's What I'm Talking About is a production of Bacon and Eggs. You can learn more about that by going to baconandeggs.media. The cover art is by Vaishon Brandon. You can find me on Twitter at MCWatt416. You can find me on Instagram at MCTurnedDownForWatt. You can find the podcast on Instagram and Twitter at TolkienAboutPod. Make sure you're following Tolkien About on Twitter or Instagram, whatever your preferred medium is, because every now and then I'll ask for questions. At the time that you're hearing this, I'll probably have already recorded for the mini-sode. You know, follow there so you can submit your questions and be... Also, there are some dank memes sometime. Yep. Except for today. Today's the exception, because I'm out of ideas.
You had the SpongeBob GIF.
I know, but I need a good. In all honesty, I used that one meme of the like. There's the girl standing above the other person. Yeah, there's the one meme of the girl yelling at the other girl who's sitting on the couch.
Like under the blanket.
Yeah, like hiding. And in all honesty, I used that one way too soon. Because it would be perfect for this chapter of like Boromir telling Frodo why he should take the ring, and then Frodo hiding on the couch. Yes. That would have been perfect.
That would have been a good one. Yeah.
I'll probably either go with you have the moral backbone of a chocolate eclair.
I do like that one.
Or you get out of here with your facts.
I like that one more. No, he is immortal. Have you seen that? There's like a theory that John Mulaney is just like this ancient being that...
You know what? I would believe that.
Yeah, there's
I would also now I'm just imagining him as one of the elves.
Yeah.
But he is still the exact same. Like, he's still just John Mulaney. And it's just like...
Just not classy or vague, just very blunt.
Everyone's like, they're showing everyone around Lorien, and they're like, "Oh, who's that elf over there?" And it's like, "Yeah, that's John. He's not exactly like the rest of us."
He's just over there quoting Spider-Pig.
And then meanwhile, John Mulaney is like, "Have I told you my joke about the gazebo?" And everyone's like, "Yes, John.
Yes, John.
We're all immortal. We've heard all of your jokes." And that's what I'm talking about.
That's it? Mother